So my presentation here that I'm going to show today is called Best Practices for Bluetooth Low Energy Product Design. This is a shortened version of a presentation I've given. It's usually more of a 45 minute presentation, so I've kind of cut a lot of stuff here. But I will share where you can get a lot of this information in a document that's freely available. So let's get started. So a little bit about myself first. My name's Sandeep Kamath. I have a background in electrical engineering, but over the years, I've kind of drifted a little bit more into the firmware side, but I still very much focus on hardware and embedded software and kind of general system design. I've been working in the industry for about 17 years, mostly in the semiconductor industry, but also within just the broader electronics industry. And for the last 12 years of my career, I've been almost entirely focused on Bluetooth Low Energy technology. Thus, I'm a odd niche engineer with a very specific skill set here. So most recently, before I started my business, I was working for Texas Instruments for about 8 years. So I helped, while I was with TI, I helped them kind of grow their entire Bluetooth Low Energy product line, involved with all kinds of things when it comes to Bluetooth Low Energy. And then about years ago, I left TI and I started my business, Swirling Technologies. I'm based in San Diego. Since then, we've grown. I have another full-time employee here, and we have a worldwide network of subcontractors. So it's not just me. We have the capabilities of taking on a wide range of projects. The core values that we have at Swirling Technologies is one, we really believe in high-quality engineering work. So, to kind of go back to what Aaron was talking about, kind of the race to the bottom and finding, you can go on Upwork or one of these other sites and probably search Bluetooth Low Energy, and you can find someone who will work for $20 an hour and can do development for you. And honestly, that might work for you depending on what you're trying to build. If you're trying to build a very simple product that you just kind of need it hacked together, hey, you might be able to get away with that. We really like to focus on high quality engineering work where you're trying to build a product and you care about the quality. You want it to work very well. And we'll talk more about what I mean by quality a little bit later, but we can really help you with that. We also believe in clear communication and professional service. I want to make sure that my clients all understand what you're getting. I really believe in that. And lastly, and maybe the most important thing, is I really like to focus on end user experience and the big picture. In the end, I think what makes a great product, we can talk about technical specs. You can say the throughput is X megabits per second, or the average power consumption is whatever X microamps, but your end user doesn't care about that. They care about the user experience. They care about, is the battery dying in 2 days, or is the battery lasting 2 weeks before I have to charge it? When they open up their phone and they're trying to pair it, are they having difficulty? They go like, why is this not working? It's supposed to be in pairing mode. Those are the things that will really make or break your product and make a great product versus a bad product. I think it's really the user experience. And instead of just focusing on the technical specs, we really want to think about what is the end user's experience going to be. And that's probably the biggest advice that I would give to anyone building an IoT product of any kind. It doesn't even need to involve Bluetooth. If you're not thinking about what the user experience will be, what your desired user experience is, your product is not going to do very well. So even if you as a product developer don't understand a lot of the technical details behind what you're doing, you should really think about what do you want your end user to experience. And then you can come to someone like myself or someone like Kyle, who are experts on our, an IoT and our areas, and we can help turn that desired user experience into the technical requirements to make that happen. If you're just thinking about, this happens where I get clients where they say, I want to build a Bluetooth connected X. I say, that's cool, but just making something Bluetooth connected is not going to make a great product. Let's actually talk through, what do you want your user to experience? So that's really a core value of the work that I do and the work we do at Swirling Technologies. As a company, our technical focus is really on anything related to Bluetooth Low Energy user experience, as I mentioned, but we can help reduce power consumption. We can help ensure your product is secure and private. We can help optimize throughput, optimize latency, robustness, interoperability. On the services side, we do everything from architecture and specification work to full-blown embedded software development. We even sometimes get involved in complete product design. We can help with hardware design, manufacturing, sort of end-to-end development, test and debugging, system optimization, project management, or just general consultation. If you are handling all of this stuff yourself, but just need someone to come in and kind of ask questions to because you're not sure about something related to Bluetooth, we can just come in and work on a very simple basis like that. Our clients are very diverse. We work with everything from sole entrepreneurs all the way up to large billion-dollar companies and everything in between. We don't cover any one vertical market. We work with any vertical market. Our really core expertise is in Bluetooth. So we work with consumer products, industrial products, automotive products, medical devices, and we do understand the differences between these types of markets. If you're building a consumer product, you can probably handle some, we can adjust the work to handle the types of failures that consumer products can handle. While in the case of building an medical device like an insulin pump, we understand that you can't really handle failures in an insulin pump. You need things to be very, very reliable. So we understand all these different markets and how to build software that fits the market. Our clients are primarily in North America, but all over the world, and we're really open to working with anyone. Now to get into kind of the meat of the presentation here, this is about best practices for Bluetooth Low Energy product development. So let's jump back here. So what are some common issues with Bluetooth Low Energy products? So I kind of hinted on some of this. Reliability is one of the most common things we see where, Aaron, you're talking about your headset. I would think that almost every single one of us here has probably dealt with an annoyance with a Bluetooth product, myself included. And to this day, I deal with annoyances with Bluetooth products all the time. I happen to be borrowing a friend's camper van this week because I was dealing with some stuff and I was driving around and I wanted to play my music through the Bluetooth, and sure enough, I'm trying to pair and it's annoying. Like the pairing isn't working well. And I'm a Bluetooth expert, so you'd think I should be able to figure out how to make it work. Well, the reality is a lot of Bluetooth products are not reliable, and the problem is not that Bluetooth itself is not reliable. The problem is that products are not made to be reliable. If you follow the Bluetooth specification and you follow best practices, your users will not have these kinds of problems. But just following the Bluetooth specification and qualifying your product is not enough. So it all falls back to user experience. Think about how you want your users to feel when they're using your product. It's possible to make a product that is always reliable. Power consumption is another issue we deal with a lot. If you make a product and you kind of just throw it together, you might not be getting all the benefits of Bluetooth Low Energy. Bluetooth Low Energy can be very low power, but that doesn't mean that you get that automatically just because you're using Bluetooth Low Energy. You need to actually do some things right if you want to actually get the power benefits of Bluetooth. And same thing with security. Bluetooth Low Energy is very secure, but that doesn't mean that every Bluetooth Low Energy product is very secure. You need to make sure that you're actually doing the best practices to get security. So why do products have these issues? Well, the specification is pretty complex. The Bluetooth core specification is the latest version 5.3 is, I believe, 3,000 plus pages, maybe even more. And that's just going to grow over time. That doesn't mean that you need to read all 3,000 pages of spec to make a good product, but the fact that the spec is 3,000 pages doesn't make it easy for us. When you're working with Bluetooth Low Energy stacks, the features might be limited. You're not necessarily going to get every single feature. Just because Bluetooth Low Energy supports all these different features doesn't mean that the stack or the product you're working with or the chipset you're working with includes all these features. And that's, I used to work for a chip company, and I know there's some people on this call who are friends of mine who work for chip companies. And I will come out and say it, the chip companies have failed at making it easy for their customers. And it's not necessarily their fault, because they need to support every single one of their customers who needs to be able to use all these features. But you as a product developer might not need all these features. You might need a narrow subset of it, and you might need to you know, just because the chips support every single feature doesn't mean that you need all of that. But the fact that they support every single feature makes it difficult for you who just needs this narrow subset of features. So that's something that we can help you with. We can kind of help translate your needs into what the stack can do. There's also confusing marketing. So the Bluetooth special interest group, the organization behind Bluetooth, is pretty guilty of this. So these are more shots fired right here. Bluetooth SIG is going to tell you Bluetooth Low Energy, Bluetooth 5.0 supports a long range mode and a high throughput mode and direction finding. And now they're supporting audio with Bluetooth 5.3. Here's the problem. Just because they support all of that doesn't mean that you get all of that for free by using Bluetooth 5.3. You can build a Bluetooth 5.3 product that doesn't support any of these features. And you can be using a Bluetooth 5.3 certified chipset that doesn't support all these features. And it's still certified to Bluetooth 5.3. That's confusing. In addition, Bluetooth 5.0 added long range mode, for instance. That doesn't mean that if you use a Bluetooth 5.0 chipset, you're getting long range mode. It doesn't mean that you get high throughput and long range. These are very specific features that you need to sort of opt in to use. If you start using long range mode, your throughput gets reduced. So you're not getting high throughput and long range mode at the same time. In addition, if you're talking to an iOS device, iOS doesn't even support long range mode. So, you know, Bluetooth SIG is pushing all this stuff. Hey, Bluetooth 5 Plus gives you long range mode. Well, if you're building a product that you want to talk to an iOS device, which, let's face it, is most Bluetooth products, you're not getting long range mode at all. You can forget that long range mode even exists. That's confusing. That doesn't really help. That doesn't really make it easy for Bluetooth product developers to, you know, to understand what they're getting. And then lastly, you know, the SDKs that you get will have example applications, but those example applications don't necessarily give you all of the features that you want. So if you just, you know, this is where, you know, if you hire the Upwork engineer in another, you know, who's somewhere else in the world, no offense to engineers in other parts of the world, there are many great engineers in other parts of the world, but the $5 an hour engineer is probably just taking the example from the SDK, changing the device name to, you know, chipset example to your product, and maybe change a couple of things, saying, hey, I built you a Bluetooth product. That's not going to be a high quality product. It's not going to give you security. It's not going to give you privacy. You're not optimizing for power consumption, and you're not really getting what you need. So that makes it difficult for you. And that's kind of one of the reasons why there's a lot of bad Bluetooth products out there. You go onto Amazon and you buy some cheap Bluetooth products, and you're going to deal with one or more of these problems. And the reason is because of one or more of these reasons that are listed here. So that being said, it's possible to build a good Bluetooth Low Energy product, and we can help with that. So I'm probably gonna speed through a little bit of this just in the sake of time. Some of the examples of issues that I deal with are, you know, I read that my BLE product should last for years on a single coin cell battery. How come it dies after just 2 weeks? You know, the basic issue here is that bad products are using just default connection parameters and advertising parameters. You know, good products, there's actually optimal values you can set for these parameters. And even better products, you can dynamically update these connection parameters. So what are these parameters? This right here, this is what I call the cheat sheet, and I'll provide a link where you can download this. So this is basically how you can build a better Bluetooth product. And I'll tell you right now, I'm kind of giving my consulting advice away for free right now. And I'm actually happy to do that because there's some simple things you can do. And I'm publicly kind of sharing this information. If you need help actually implementing these parameters, this is where I can come in and help you with it. If you think you can do this yourself, all the more power to you. You know, I'm happy to share this advice to you. So I'll share a link where you can get this. Another issue, I kind of hinted at this as well, you know, isn't the throughput in BLE 2 megabits per second? I'm not getting anything close to that. Well, this is another failure of Bluetooth SIG. They're pushing that you support this high throughput mode and a 2 megabits per second data rate. Well, the reality is that is the physical layer data rate. At the application layer, your throughput is significantly less than that. And there's many reasons why it's less than that. You know, there's certain procedures that will impact your throughput. You know, the basic idea here is if you're sending data using the procedures called write requests or indications, you're sending your data at one point in time, then you have to wait a certain amount of time for a response. Then you wait and you send a small amount of data, and then you wait and you get a response. This is very inefficient if you're trying to optimize for throughput. There's a better way to do it, which is using procedures called write responses or notifications. And when you're doing that, you can send multiple packets on a single event. You don't need to wait for a response. Your next event, you send multiple more packets. You send multiple more packets. You're still not going to get 2 megabits per second throughput because that's a physical layer data rate. But if you were to follow this versus the previous graph that I showed, you will get, you know, approximately 8 times higher throughput than you would get if you're using kind of the basic write requests or read requests. So this is another practice which will help you if you're trying to optimize your throughput. Security. A common question I get is Bluetooth secure? The short answer here is yes, Bluetooth is very secure. The longer answer is Bluetooth is secure as long as you implement the security properly. And if you're just using the basic examples from an SDK, you're probably not going to have default security. Bluetooth has a feature called LE Secure Pairing. Bluetooth 4.0 had something which is now known as legacy pairing, which is not very secure because it was susceptible to a man-in-the-middle attack. So your basic idea here is you have Alice is sending data to Bob, the recipient, and you have Eve, the eavesdropper. Eve sits in the middle and is passively listening to all the data that's being sent over the air. And even if you're using security in Bluetooth Low Energy, it's not really secure because the eavesdropper can listen in on all the packets that are being sent and can basically decrypt the data. That's, in the end, it's basically no security. Bluetooth 4.2 added a feature called LE Secure Connections, which was later improved in Bluetooth 5.0. And this is based on them called elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman key exchange, or ECDH key exchange. And by using the LE Secure Connections feature, you're actually secure against Eve the eavesdropper in this case, using a better algorithm. So if you're not using this algorithm, you don't really have security in your product. So this is another best practice that we pretty much tell everyone for every product, always use LE Secure Connections. The reliability question. So my device won't pair with my phone, or the connection seems unreliable. This is another common one. For this, the best practice here is really to understand what iOS and Android want in order to make your product reliable. iOS actually, so Apple has a document called Accessory Design Guidelines. You can just Google that and you'll find it. And there's a section on Bluetooth Low Energy, and they give you all these details of do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. And even the things in their don't do this list, they're legal from a Bluetooth specification perspective, but they don't necessarily play well with iOS. So if you do what Apple suggests that you do, you'll have a good experience. If you don't follow their guidelines, you may or may not have reliability issues. And the tricky thing is, you might sometimes have good reliability, but other times you might not have it. So if you just kind of throw something together and quickly test it, it might seem okay, but when your users are actually trying it, you know, your users are not going to be testing it in the same lab environment that you're testing your product. Your users have their AirPods in, and they also have 3 other Bluetooth products connected. They're wearing a Fitbit, and they're talking to your device. And in that scenario, you're kind of stressing the system a little bit more than just a really basic test that's happening in your lab. So if you follow their guidelines, you'll probably be okay, even if the user is kind of using this their system in a more stressful environment. So these are just things to be aware of. In Android, it's a little more difficult because, you know, Google or in Android, there isn't really a clear documentation of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. But there are some best practices, especially one of the best practices I can tell you is you should enforce a newer version of Android to your users. Don't say that we're going to support every version of Android for the last 10 years. If you build your app and just design your app so that it only runs on the last, let's say the last 3 versions of Android, then you'll have a much better consistency with the behavior versus just trying to support all these older versions.
That is awesome stuff. Unfortunately, we gotta move to the next segment, but I think that Sandeep should definitely be on a podcast episode. What do you guys think?
Real quick, so I'll tell you all of that
please.
information can be downloaded for free on this document called the Ble Developers Checklist, blechecklist.com. Go and download this, and basically everything I covered is in there plus much more, and you can get that. And the last thing I have to throw this pitch is we are working on something at SwarLink where we're basically taking all these best practices, encapsulating it into middleware, and instead of just having us consult and having us help you design all these things, another option is we're building a platform which gives you all of that. So reach out to me, reach out to us, and we can help you with all that. So yes, thank you for your time. Sorry if I've taken up more time than we have.